This video is for educational and storytelling purposes only. Climbing is dangerous, and anyone interested in technical climbing should get proper instruction, use the correct equipment, and climb with qualified supervision.
So today we're talking about one of the most famous climbs in the world, El Capitan in Yosemite. And honestly, even saying the name makes it sound bigger than life.
It really does, because it's not just a climb. It's this massive granite wall that has become almost legendary in the climbing world.
And for good reason. People look at it and immediately think, how does anyone even do that?
That's exactly why it's such a great topic. There's the preparation, the danger, the thrill, and then all the gear you need just to attempt something like this.
Yeah, and let's be clear right away. This is not the kind of thing you just show up and wing. For anyone who doesn't know, El Capitan is this huge rock formation in Yosemite National Park. It rises dramatically from the valley floor and dominates the whole area.
And that's part of what makes it so intimidating. You're not dealing with a regular climb here. This is big wall climbing.
Which means long days, hauling gear, sleeping on the wall sometimes, and dealing with all kinds of conditions while you're up there.
Exactly. It's not just about being strong. It's about being organized, patient, and mentally tough.
That's a great point. A lot of people think climbing is just pulling yourself up rock with brute force.
But with El Capitan, it's more like a full system. You need skill, planning, and endurance.
Let's talk about preparation, because this is where most of the real work starts.
Right. Before even thinking about El Cap, a climber needs a solid base of experience. That means knowing rope systems, anchors, belaying, lead climbing, and probably some aid climbing too.
And if you're going to spend a long time on a wall, you also need to know how to manage yourself. That means food, water, gear organization, sleep, and energy.
A lot of people underestimate the mental side. You're up there making decisions all day, sometimes while you're tired, cold, or a little scared.
And that's not ideal when you're hundreds or thousands of feet off the ground.
No, not at all. That's why climbers practice on smaller walls first. They rehearse their systems. They figure out hauling, anchoring, and how to move efficiently as a team.
That practice matters because if your system is messy on a small climb, it becomes a nightmare on a giant one.
Exactly. El Capitan rewards preparation and punishes guesswork.
Route research is also a huge part of the prep. You need to know what line you're climbing, how long it is, where the bad spots are, what the descent looks like, and how weather might affect the route.
Because once you're committed, you can't just casually bail the way you might on a shorter climb.
Now let's get into the danger, because that's part of the reality here.
Yeah, El Capitan is beautiful, but it's also serious. The obvious danger is falling, and even with ropes and protection, a mistake can have real consequences.
Then there's the exposure. Just being on a wall that tall can mess with your head.
Absolutely. You can be completely safe from a technical standpoint, and still feel your nerves going wild because of how high and open it is.
And fatigue is a major issue too. Once you're tired, your judgment gets worse. That's when climbers start making small mistakes that can turn into big problems.
Plus, weather can change everything. A climb that feels manageable in good conditions can become dangerous if wind, rain, or cold move in.
And then there's the basic stuff people forget about. Dehydration, not eating enough, lack of sleep, sore hands, sore feet, all of it.
Right. Those things add up fast on a big wall. You're not just fighting gravity, you're fighting your own body's limits.
And if something goes wrong with gear or rope systems, now you're solving a problem in a very difficult place.
Which is why big wall climbers are so focused on prevention. They don't just hope for the best. They plan for problems before they happen.
But that's also what makes it so exciting.
Exactly. The thrill comes from knowing how hard it is and doing it anyway.
There's something pretty incredible about looking down and seeing the valley far below while you're working your way up a giant wall.
And the focus is different too. On a climb like this, everything narrows down. It's just the next move, the next pitch, the next anchor.
That kind of focus is rare. You're not thinking about emails or traffic or anything else. You're just in the moment.
And when you finally make progress or top out, that feeling is huge. It's not just excitement. It's relief, pride, and probably a little disbelief too.
Yeah, because you know how much work went into it. It's one of those achievements that really feels earned. All right, let's get into the gear, because climbing El Capitan means being very prepared.
First up, ropes. You're usually looking at a lead rope, a hauling rope, and sometimes additional lines depending on the route.
Then you need protection gear, like cams, nuts, slings, quick draws, and other route-specific pieces.
You'll also need harnesses, locking carabiners, non-locking carabiners, belay devices, and anchor materials.
For big wall or aid climbing, you may also need daisy chains and other wall-specific tools.
And don't forget the hauling system. Haul bags, pulleys, and hauling hardware are essential because you're carrying a lot of gear over a long climb.
Helmets are a must. That one is non-negotiable.
Absolutely. Then you need climbing shoes, maybe a comfort pair for camp or hauling, and gloves if your hands are going to take a beating.
If the climb is multi-day, then sleeping gear becomes a big deal too. That may include a portalage and sleeping bag.
Headlamps too. People always remember the big gear, but a headlamp can be just as important when the day runs long.
Now for supplies, because gear alone isn't enough.
Food is huge. You want lightweight, high-calorie, easy-to-eat stuff that gives you energy without weighing you down.
Water is another major one. You need to know exactly how much you're bringing and how you're going to manage it.
Electrolytes are smart too, especially if you're climbing in heat or over a long period of time.
A first aid kit is also a must. Even minor injuries can become a problem if you're far from the ground and already exhausted.
And then there are the practical extras. Sunscreen, lip balm, extra layers, a warm hat, a rain shell, tape, repair items, and a small knife.
Plus waste management supplies, because responsible climbers leave as little trace as possible.
That's a big part of climbing ethics. You don't just get yourself up the wall. You also respect the place you're in.
I think people who've never done a big wall might imagine it's non-stop action, but there's a rhythm to it.
Yeah, and that rhythm is a mix of climbing, belaying, hauling, organizing, and resting whenever you can.
You wake up tired, probably cold, and then the day starts with food, water, gear checks, and getting everything sorted.
Then it's climb a pitch, secure everything, haul the bags, and repeat, over and over.
And even though it sounds repetitive, every pitch is different enough that you have to stay locked in.
That's what makes it mentally exhausting. You're constantly paying attention.
By the end of the day, you're usually worn out, but in a weirdly satisfying way.
Yeah, because every bit of exhaustion means you're doing something real.
So why do people do this? Why go through all that?
Because the experience is unforgettable. It's not just about danger or bragging rights.
It's about challenge, beauty, and the feeling of pushing yourself farther than you thought you could go.
And there's something powerful about working as a team on something this serious. You depend on each other completely.
That bond matters. When a climb is that demanding, trust becomes part of the gear.
That's a great way to put it. Trust is part of the system.
So yeah, El Capitan is one of the biggest climbs in the world for a reason. The preparation is intense, the danger is real, and the thrill is hard to match. If you're ever thinking about a climb like this, the big lesson is simple. Respect the wall, train properly, and come prepared. Because on El Capitan, success starts long before the first move. That's it for today. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you on the next one.